where'd we leave off? We were just, you went back to, let's see, you left Panama, okay, we're in Vietnam, you went to the 501st.
And then we went to I-Corps. And I was talking with Steve when he was gone. I think I went to I-Corps a little bit earlier than what I said I did.
Okay,
Because I spent about a month in Geobook.
you were in Geovuc?
Yes. With Slover.
You were in
Slover was the
Geovuc,
team sergeant.
when were you in Geovuc?
It had to be in the sometime in the August, September timeframe of 66.
I think it was November. I think you didn't get there till the end of November. 1 month later, you went in on that operation in December.
Okay.
Did Steve tell you that?
But I run that jump. I run that jump school up there too. I started that jump school in the
After
train.
you came back from the operation, which is still before Contian opened up.
Yeah.
Did Steve tell you I was in Geovuc in 67?
No.
Yeah,
You
radio.
know what? You know what
Young
Geobook
radio
had?
operator.
You know what Geobook had? A lot of rats. I never seen so many rats in my life as they had.
I've
in
never
Geobook.
seen rats so big in my life as I
You
saw
got
at
that right.
Geovuc.
That place had some rats.
I remember the first time they took me down into the ammo bunker. I was the radio operator. They took me down into the ammo bunker, and we were showing me that where all the different ammo was and stuff. And here were these rats in there, and I said, "That's not a rat. That is the size of a cat or something."
Yeah. Well, you know, when I was out there, we was fogged in, and it was time for payday. And 123 came in. He couldn't land because the fog was too thick. They didn't have those panels up there yet that they could land during bad weather.
Yeah.
Instrument landing. So he flew just about where the runway was, and he kicked out a duffel bag full of money to pay the yards. That duffel bag was never recovered.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know whatever happened to it, but it was never recovered, to my knowledge,
Oh, damn.
because it
So-
didn't land near that runway.
Yeah. So let's see, what did we miss here? When you ran your operation for recovery, that wasn't when you were at Geovuc, that was before that, right?
I can't remember.
Yeah, look.
Steve might.
Long Street, then Jump School, and then Contian.
Then content.
Okay. So take us through a little bit of that stuff that you remembered at each of those stops.
Well, Geobook's the thing I remember out there most is that money being lost and all those dabbling rats. And Slover was a team sergeant. Slover was a homesteader on Okinawa. And he spent a lot of time over there in Vietnam. And when I left there, then what was the next one I went to, Steve? Was the recovery.
Was recovery, yeah.
Okay, then I started the jump school. The engineers that built the towers and everything for a jump school, and I run the jump school for about a month
Well, now, where was this at?
in a train.
Oh,
I mean, in
You're back-
Da Nang.
You're okay, back at Da Nang, okay.
Yeah, I'm back. This
Yeah.
all this was out of Da Nang. Yeah. On my 4 tours, 3 of them was in I-Corps. And when I left there, the jump school is
Okay.
uneventful.
Thank you.
Say what?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Somebody
The jump
just,
school was basically uneventful on the fact that I made a lot of jumps. You know, I jumped 13 times when I was in Vietnam.
so where was the drop zone out of Da Nang?
We jumped over by, you know, that bridge that was out down there in Da Nang,
I'm
By
not sure I
Marble
remember
Mountain?
that.
over by Marble Mountain.
Oh, okay.
That bridge was washed out during a terrible storm. People say it was bombed. It was never bombed. It was during the rainy season. That bridge washed out. A bunch of debris come floating down, and that's what washed
Took the
that bridge
bridge
out.
right out.
Yeah, and
So,
we jumped there, and sometimes we jumped along the beach,
right where the camp was?
right where Da Nang was. Yeah,
Wow.
where the C team was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then I went to and we were supposed to go to, we went to Contin in December,
What team number, or what camp number was that?
110.
110?
110. Okay. We got to Dong Ha up on the DMZ, so not far from the DMZ. And General English was a Marine Corps commandant, because I Corps was full of Marines. Okay. And well, 3 MAF was headquartered there in Da Nang. 3 MAF was Marine Amphibious Force. So we got to Da Nang, and General English says, the Marine Corps had 4 C-130s that come out of Fatima in Okinawa. And they'd bring them over there and they'd fly the hell out of them, virtually no maintenance for 30 days. Then they'd fly them back to Okinawa and bring in 4 new ones. And those 4 that had been in Vietnam, they'd pull maintenance on them. Anyway, we got up to Da Nang and he says, no. I don't know nothing about you guys coming up here. He says, you're going back to Da Nang. So he put us back on that damn airplanes and sent us back to Da Nang. Because Saigon had neglected to inform 3 MAF that we was coming up there. And it was the General English's AO. So, well, it took about a week later, they finally got the word to him, and they put us back on planes and sent us back into Dong Ha. Then they airlit the helicopters from there into Contin. And we stayed in Contin, and it was, Contin was a hot camp. Let me tell you, it was a hot camp. We are roughly 1,500 meters from the DMZ. And we got rocketed all the time.
Mm.
And where we slept, we didn't have time to build bunkers or nothing. So you know where we slept? We dug holes underneath the Conex boxes. And we slept underneath the Conex box.
Wow.
In a hole underneath them.
Wow.
And Gogo Gomez and I were bunkmates. And the only thing we had for companions in those holes was scorpions. That place had more damn scorpions than we had ammunition.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it was filthy. I'm surprised none of us ever died from a scorpion bite. I really am. Anyway, Gogo was coming out of a bunker one day, and a round, 82 mortar round, rocket round, a mortar round came in and landed probably 10 feet in front of him. But the way the backblast was, he was protected. The only thing he got a bunch of dirt thrown in his face. He got no shrapnel. I was off to the side, and I got a piece of shrapnel in my left leg. And other than that, Gogo was, the good Lord looks after certain people in combat zones, as we all know.
You guys had a halo over your head or something.
The good Lord was looking after us, I'm gonna tell you what. And God was right there with us, and he was stopping these things.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you stepped out, and we had a dog that I brought up from the train. That dog was named Pussy Galore. Well, we eventually dug foxholes all over out there in case we was out there working. We had a bunch of CBs up there with us. We're going to build us a little camp. So we had foxholes dug all over out there. So in case we was incoming rounds, we had a place to get in. Well, if Pussy Galore got in a foxhole, she knew when it was coming before we did. So if you seen Pussy Galore getting one, you better get in one yourself. And don't get into one she's in, because she's gonna bite you. She wasn't a big dog. She only stood about at the most a foot high at the front shoulder. But she was a good dog. She was my pet.
Pussy
you know?
Galore. That's a good one.
We named her after that movie, one of the Goldfinger movies. That's who I named her after. See?
Yeah, James Bond. Yeah. What's his name? Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long were you up there?
I got. When did I get shot up there, Steve?
Got wounded on May 8th.
May 8th. Okay.
2
I got
days.
shot right. I got shot right through the elbow. Let me show you. You see there where the bullet went in right there?
Yeah.
Can you see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
That's where it went in, and it came out right back here.
Oh, wow.
Well,
And it didn't.
This long scar is not from that. The long scar, they took a skin graft off it, because back here was ugly. I mean, I had a hole that big back here. Up here, I had a little one. Back here, I had a big one. Well, they medevac me from there to Walter Reed. But when I got to Walter Reed, they took a skin graft off my leg and put a patch on here, and it was ugly, and it would never heal. The elbow portion would never heal. So
Did it get the bone, Ralph, or no?
yes, yeah, it just it didn't do a lot of damage, but it did. Anyway, when I get to make a long story short, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Now I better not. You want everything in sequence, right?
Yeah, let's keep it in
Okay, so
sequence if we can.
we'll just say I got made back to Walter Reed. I'll let it go with that. Okay.
You had previously, I think for a single event on December 21st, you got a Bronze Star for achievement. What was that about?
That was for going into the Ashaw Valley and recover that body.
Okay,
Oh,
Then-
they gave you a Bronze Star for that?
Yes.
then you got on April 24th, you got a Purple Heart.
Yes.
And then a month later, or less than a month later, at 508, you got another Purple Heart and you got a Silver Star to accompany
That was when I got shot here.
Right, but how did the Silver Star come about? What's the details on the Silver Star?
Okay. When we was up there about, and this is where Captain King comes into the play. Steve, you was wondering about Captain King?
Mhm.
Okay. Craig Chamberlain was the detachment commander, but he was on R&R. So Lieutenant Marler was the XO. Bobby Marler, he's dead too, from what you tell me. And so they sent Captain King in there while Craig Chamberlain was on R&R. Well, at that time, General Westmoreland came up there. He wanted to see what was happening in content, because at that time he was building what they call have you ever heard of the McNamara line?
Yep.
They had all these D8 bulldozers was coming from the ocean, going across there toward our camp, and it was leveling everything. And they wanted to put towers out there every couple hundred yards. I mean, every 500 yards roughly, and have them manned by people. Who in the hell's crazy enough to sit out there in the damn tower in the middle of nowhere up by the DMZ? He
You're
must have
talking
thought we were
about
crazy or something.
put a big target on the damn thing.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Anyway, so those bulldozers got to our camp, and they was going to sit there for 3 days and pull maintenance. Well, word had told us that we was going to get hit when those bulldozers were up there. Our intel said that. Brilliante was my intel sergeant, and he says, Top, we're going to get hit when the intel says when these bulldozers get here. Well, General Westmoreland had come up there a few days before that, and Craig Chamberlain was gone. Captain King was the new temporary CO, and he says, Captain King says to me, he says, Top, he says, you know what's going on up here. How about you reporting to General Westmoreland and take care of it? So I did. I reported to General Westmoreland, and through the conversation, General Westmoreland says, I told him, I said, intel says we're going to get hit, sir. And I said, we're not going to survive. I said, every one of us is going to be dead. And because we can't hold it. And he says, what do you need? I said, we need a minimum of a company of Marines to go all the way around the end of that. They had a runway up there, which couldn't use the damn thing because nobody could land. Everything was airdropped in. Even we didn't even have water. All our water was brought in by bladder.
Wow.
Dirty Shirt David Johnson was my engineer, one of my engineers. And he cleaned out a bunch of tubes from artillery rounds, because they sealed tight, waterproof. And he washed those out real good. And we brought a bunch of water up there in those tubes. And other than that, they brought the water bladders that they sling load on a helicopter. That's where we got our water, because we didn't have anything. Anyway, so Westmoreland he said, what do you need? I said, we need a minimum of a company of Marines. Well, the next day he sent a company of Marines up there. If those Marines hadn't been there, I would not be sitting here talking to you gentlemen today.
Wow. Wow.
Because when we get hit by 2 battalions of NVA. And the best of my recollection, there was 246 NVA that was killed. And we lost, I think it was 46 Marines.
Wow.
We didn't lose any American SF, but a lot of us got shot up. And I was on the machine gun. I had already been shot through the arm. We was on the machine gun, and the machine gun went off, and a piece of shrapnel comes there and hit that machine gun and destroyed it.
Huh.
But I
What was it, a 30?
sir,
Was it a machine gun? Oh, 50.
caliber.
Okay.
Yeah. And according to the citation, because I got medevac, they said there was 30 bodies out there in front of the machine gun that I'd killed with that machine gun. And Gogo was on the machine gun with me, and we both got medevac. Gogo got shot through the chest, and I got shot through the arm. And he was, they remember those two hospital ships you had there, the Sanctuary and the Repose?
Mm-hmm.
There was the two hospital ships was out there. And I think the one off, they had one up there off Dong Ha for the Marines. And I want to say it was the Repose, but I'm not positive. It could have been the Sanctuary, because that was the two hospital ships that was out there in the bay. And Gogo went out there in that ship, and I got made it back to Walter Reed.
You were lucky where that round hit you in the arm there.
Thank you. I've like I say, God's looked after me. He's put Jesus Christ. And many times I look back and I see one set of footprints, and I guarantee they weren't mine.
Wow.
The good Lord's been carrying me,
Yeah.
and I've been blessed. I'm blessed. To make a long story short,
I was just going to ask, what was your rank then?
okay, when we went to Con 10, I was not the senior NCO on that rank. Al Lansbury was the senior NCO as far as rank. We was all E7s. Well, 5 of us was E7. But I wanted Al Lansbury to be the team sergeant. And Al Lansbury says to me, he says, Ralph, he says, no, you be the team. He said, because I don't know that much about the paperwork for the MOPSs and things like that. Monthly operation summary. I said, Al, you take the team. And I said, I'll do the damn paperwork. There's nothing to it. He said, well, he did want the team. And he interviewed another guy and he wanted him. And I think it was Gogo Gomez. I'm not sure. But nobody wanted the job. So the colonel called me in and he says, Sergeant Loff, he says, you take that team. And he says, to Con 10, he said, I'll guarantee you, you'll be on the next, one of the next promotion lists that come out. So he put me on he kept his word. He put me on the promotion list. And I got promoted in Walter Reed because I was on the promotion list. At that time, if you was on a promotion list and you got medevac to a major hospital back to the States, you got promoted. And that's how I'm 88. I only had about 18 months time of grade as an E7.
Wow.
All right, now Lansbury seemed to have left a couple of days before you did. He was a medic.
Yes, he was my medic. No, he didn't leave. He was still there when I left.
Okay. And then 4 days later, the other medic, Robert Johnson, was killed.
Yeah, Johnson came up after I left. Johnson was not there when I was there.
Okay.
And Britton was not there when I was there. The only person from the original 501 that went up there was me.
Okay.
All the rest of them were handpicked people from up there in Da Nang.
All right. So Con 10 was too hot for special forces to keep.
Yeah, they closed the camp up right after I left. Yes.
Well, they turned it over to the Marines entirely.
Yeah.
So no longer was special forces camp.
Yeah, that's correct.
I think they closed it effective the 4th of July.
Okay. Well, the guy, they tell me, because I talked to Craig Chamberlain, who was the captain that was originally there with me. And I talked to Gogo Gomez and I talked to Dirty Shirt David Johnson. And they all said that he took one of those bulldozers, that one that wasn't blown up by the MVA when they came through there. And they dug a big hole, and that's where they put the dead MVA. He says there's a big mound out there they put him in.
What was the time frame from the time you got there to the time you left?
Well, I got there in December. We got there originally. We went there in December and they sent us back. So it was either the first part of December or first part of January. And when I say first part, I'm talking about the first couple of days of January of 67 when we went back up there. It was
Right.
either end of 66, first part of 67.
Yeah, I think there was a fair amount of time where you were still milling around at Dong Ha at that time, because I don't think you actually got into the camp until possibly as late as, not so late as March, but in late February.
No, we was there before March. Yeah. We got there in January, Steve,
At Kantian or just at Dong Ha?
at Contian.
Okay.
Dong Ha didn't have the facilities to keep us.
And when were you medevac out of there? What was the date?
May
What
8th.
date is it? May
May-
8th.
May,
Yeah.
okay, May 8th, 67.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you went to the hospital ship, and then from there, where'd you go?
No. Gomez went to the hospital ship.
Oh.
I went to Walter Reed.
Oh, you went to Walter Reed, okay.
Yes.
And then how long were you there?
I got promoted in Walter Reed, and I got discharged from Walter Reed in November of 67. And in January of 1968, our good friend, Miss Alexander, sent Ralph Loff back to Vietnam. I did not volunteer. No, I did not. I had the solution. I had the solution for Vietnam, but I needed God's help. We need to evacuate all the women and children. Then the good Lord needs to bless it with get 6 inches of snow. Then he needs to bless it again and turn that snow into gunpowder. Then he needs to bless it again, have lightning strike and blow the whole damn place up. That was my solution to Vietnam.
Yeah,
I did not like that place. I was not in love with anything over there.
yeah,
I had no good memories from Vietnam. Other than the camaraderie that I met one of my
Yeah.
fellows
Yeah.
guys in SF.
fellow SFers.
Yeah.
So you went back there, when did you go back there?
So, and I came back here and I was assigned to the 6th. When I left Walter Reed, I come back and I was assigned to the 6th of 67, 6th Special Forces Group in Bragg.
Yeah,
And Colonel Connolly was my company commander there. And the next company, I was in C company, and B company was commanded by Tiger Woods' father.
ah. Yeah, what was his first name?
Earl.
Earl, yeah.
Harold?
See, Steve knows all about this stuff. You should have interviewed Steve, not me.
No, you're doing great. What was it, Harold Woods?
Earl.
Oh,
Earl.
Earl, yeah, Earl Woods, okay.
Yeah.
And so,
I got pictures of Tiger Woods. They come to Bragg here probably 15, 20 years ago, he and his father. And I got pictures with him.
huh, that's great.
Yeah.
So you, and speaking of pictures, by the way, Ralph, do you have any imagery from all of that time you were in service? Does Steve have that stuff? Or do you have pictures?
No, but here's a picture. Can you see this one?
Oh, yeah, look at that. That's awesome.
That's me, Tiger Woods. And this is the guy that owns here. He's a retired colonel, lieutenant colonel. He owns the Heritage Jewelers.
Huh. Wow. That's awesome. Good job. Do you have any photos from back in that time?
I never got most of my photos. I have some, but they're all on the old 35 millimeter slides.
Yeah.
And I want to turn some of them in and have them put on a CD. But my son says some of them are rather gross.
Gross.
Dead bodies. And he said,
Oh,
if you
yeah.
turn them in, he says, you're going to get in trouble.
Look, if you write captions, if you have any way of looking at that beforehand, if you write captions for it all and send it to Texas Tech and include my name when you send it, they will process it, turn it onto a CD and send it back to you, but they keep the slides. Okay, that's a good deal because you don't need the damn slides. They'll transfer them all, And but they really need your captions. You're the only guy who could say what's in the picture.
Would you believe, Steve, I can't remember a lot of them.
Well,
can't remember.
You do the best you can with it. That's the main.
Well, if you want me to try that, I'll think about it a while first before I do it. You send me that, what you just told me in an email,
Okay.
because my memory is about as long as a piece of my anatomy. And
You're doing pretty good, Ralph. You're doing pretty good.
Here we are. And for some reason, Mrs. Alexander sends you back to Vietnam. You're comfortably
Yes.
ensconced in the 6th group. You
This was
really had no reason to be going anywhere after you just got shot up. Why
Thank
the hell
you.
did she send you to Vietnam?
You tell me, we'll both know.
Okay.
It's
So
because
on
she,
January 14th of 1968, you're going to Vietnam, and then you're going to take over as a team sergeant for A-109.
A-109 in Tung Duc. Sure did.
yeah, tell us about that, Ralph.
Okay, I was out there, and that was another hot camp. Matter of fact, CCN, which you're all familiar with, used to launch a lot out of our camp a lot because we had 2 105s. And they'd launch out of our camp, and our 105s, as long as they stayed within range, we was in good shape. But the 105s would zero on every time they RON, remain overnight. We'd put some rounds around there so we'd zero on close to their camp in case they got hit. As long as they were
Those were
within range.
infantry operations. You didn't really have the range to go into Laos.
Huh?
Did you have the range to support an operation in Laos?
No, they weren't in, the camps weren't in Laos. I mean, the SOG wasn't in, CCN wasn't in Laos from our launch site, no. No.
Where were they going to from your launch site?
Just out in the mountains west of us.
Okay.
But see that AO up there, I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but I guess in every A camp I was in, I had total control of the AO that SF assigned me to. You couldn't do anything without my permission. Matter of fact, when I was up in Con 10, we flew, you're all familiar with arc lights. And make a long story short, I got a cousin who flew B-52s for 15 years. And he used to fly along the DMZ and drop bombs. So he dropped bombs because we had the time, I just was out there and seen him last summer because his mother, who was my aunt, turned 100 and we're out there for her birthday. And he would tell me about the places he used to drop. And he used to drop up along the DMZ when I was there. And I asked him, I said, how high do you guys when you drop these bombs? He said 36,000 feet.
Wow.
I said, how high are you when you're flying? He said 42,000. He said, we dropped down to 36,000 when we dropped the bombs. And that's why when arc light comes, I always knew when it was coming. I didn't tell the Vietnamese because I didn't trust the LLDB. Because I'm convinced there was NBA in the LLDB.
Yeah.
If there wasn't, there was VC, I know.
Yeah.
But on each end, you had to have a minimum of 3,000 meters you couldn't be in. And on both sides, you had to be 1,000 meters away from that strip coordinates that they give you, they're going to drop the bombs in. Because some of those bombs, he said, when they come out of the plane, he said he could dump the whole plane load in 10 seconds. He said when they come out of the plane, some of those bombs, they'd hit together and the fins would get bent. And that's where they'd go erratic when they come down. And that's why you had to have the clearance on both sides and on the ends.
Huh. I'll be darned. I never heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
well, I can see he and I were. I'm 7 years older than he is, but we communicate all the time.
Yeah. So when you had some 105s, that's pretty unusual artillery to have at an A camp.
And the
isn't it?
yards had. We didn't have the yards did.
What's that?
It was in Thong Duc. I'm not the yards. The Vietnamese. The Vietnamese had the 105s,
Oh, really?
and we had 2 of them. We had 2 tubes. And we had 15 rounds of flechette rounds for each one.
Wow.
That wasn't the LLDB. That was a Vietnamese artillery detachment.
It was Vietnamese artillery people, yes, but they took their orders from the LLDB.
Huh.
Okay, when I was in Thong Duc, before I got shot out there, Colonel Anderson had the 7th Marine Regiment. And that was the hill that 7th Marine Regiment was on west. It was west of it was between a little bit north, but not much. Probably if you used to draw a straight line from Thong Duc to Da Nang, and a little over halfway onto the toward my camp, A-109, and go north probably around roughly a little bit less than 5 miles probably from that straight line is where the hill was, where the 7th Marine Regiment was. They had the contingency plan for A-109 in case we got hit. Well, anyway, Colonel Anderson commanded the 7th Marine Regiment. And one of his captains, that had one of those companies, was Captain Robb. And I'm sure you all heard of Captain Robb, President Johnson's son-in-law. And his 45 was so rusty, he couldn't fire it if he wanted to. Anyway, and we standing on top of a little knoll out there in Thong Duc. And there again, the team captain didn't want to talk to him because he didn't know that much. He was a lawyer, really. So he says, Ralph, he says, you go out there and take care of the colonel. He said, because you know more about it than I do. And Colonel Anderson come out there, and I report to him, and he was out there standing on the hill. He had his company commanders. And we stand there, and I was briefing him what happened. And he said, we're the best place the Marines were going to land in case we got hit. And Rob kept interrupting. And finally, Colonel Anderson says to Captain Rob, he says, Captain, he said, if you shut your damn mouth and let the team sergeant here talk, he says, we both might learn something. And I said to myself, I didn't say this to the colonel. I said, there goes your star. You'll never make a star. talking to the president's son like that, son-in-law like that. See. Well, anyway, he left. And like I say, he had the contingency plan for our camp. And they had there was another hill east of us, and I can't remember the name of that hill. But I traded some of the Navy people won some of these weapons that we captured from the NBA. And they won some AK-47s. And I traded a couple of AK-47s for a set of ship's binoculars. Have you ever seen ship's binoculars? They are powerful. Yeah, they are powerful. As a matter of fact, the CT made me a stand for them because they're heavy. They're big. The lens is about that big in the front. And it's so damn powerful. You can't hold the damn things. So the CT made me a stand for those binoculars. And I had those setting in my camp. And this hill was about 3 miles away from us. I could look at you and tell you whether or not you shaved that morning.
Wow.
With these binoculars. That's how powerful you were.
That would have been Hill A50 or Hill 52.
Okay. But that's where SLD Spakes had been down to that hill. And he was coming back. And he got caught in an ambush. And that's when SLD Spakes got killed. He was running along the river. And then we had a company across the river. And I told the company to get over there and protect SLD Spakes. Well, anyway, they got to him. The MDA, the VC got to him before that company could. And they killed SLD Spakes right there on the river.
Wow.
And that's when Harmon D. Hodge, who was the C-Team Sergeant Major out of Da Nang, he was coming out there. And that's when he got shot in the butt. The bullet went through the bottom of the helicopter and hit Harmon D. Hodge in the butt.
Wow.
So anyway, there's something else I was going to tell you. Oh, Colonel Lachey was I think it was Lachey, was the 5th Group Commander at that time. Does that sound familiar?
I don't remember that name. No.
No.
I remember Ladd and what's Bulldog?
You remember Roe and Kelly?
Yeah,
Kelly
Bulldog
was-
Kelly.
Kelly was the 5th Group commander when I was in Dong Ha, up in Kantian. And Dunaway was the sergeant major.
Yeah.
Dunaway
Dunaway,
wound
I
up as
remember
sergeant major
him.
of the Army. Yeah.
And then you
Anyway,
you had Aaron, I think. Hank Aaron was,
it could have been. Yeah, it could have been. Anyway, he come out to he was the one that believed in charts. Remember with the one that believed in charts? I didn't have any charts at all. The only chart I had was the situation map, and I kept that covered unless I had to brief somebody. I had everything in one of these green binding notebooks, everything. And the colonel come out there and he was looking at my camp and he says, Sergeant Loff, he said, I don't see any charts. And he says, you know how I believe in charts, don't you? I said, yes, sir. He says, well, why don't you have any charts up here? I said, sir, I said, if I had to maintain a chart, which is never accurate anyhow, I said, I wouldn't have to have a chart to see how far behind I am and do my damn job. He said, well, how do you keep track of things? I said, in this green notebook I got right here. He said, you can't put it all in there. I said, anything you want to know, Colonel, is in this notebook. He said, how many A6 machine guns you got out here? I said, I'm just picking a number out of the air now. I can't remember. I said, I got 38, sir. And I said, one of them is down for parts. He said, okay. He said, how many flechette rounds you got for 105 tubes? I said, I got 15 for each tube, sir. You know what a flechette round is, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one that shoots those little arrows
Yeah.
in case you get a ground attack.
Right.
And he says, how many HE rounds? He got, said, I got 36 for each tube. And he said, excuse me a minute. Oh, I got to answer this call.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Ralph speaking.
shit.
How we doing, Steve? Okay.
We're doing fine, but I muted him so you can have a private phone call, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure I can get him back yet. I gotta tell him how to do it.
Okay. So, I mean, he's just talking about certain incidents and stuff, which is fine for me, but, you
This
know,
is
I
good
would,
stuff. You're getting stuff you're not gonna find anywhere else. The business
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
bombs, that was totally new to me and a significant piece of information.
Right. Yeah, this is
Some of
good.
the stories are good.
This is good.
Yeah, no, this is well worth doing.
No question.
But when he hangs up, I'm gonna have to try to talk him through unmuting his microphone.
Okay.
I should have just left him on, but I didn't want to record it. I think he can hear me. So I may be able to talk to him. I'm pretty sure he can hear me.
Yeah, maybe.
So when he hangs up the phone, I will try to talk to him.
Okay.
Let me shut off the recording here.